Okay, so although I'm wearing my glasses, I'll draw me without them. Just take pot luck on what you can see, I think. So I'm looking directly in a mirror. Basically, my human head is a kind of egg shape really, but it's got crinklier down here through the years. And although they say the eyes are sort of halfway down, that's basically if you've got a lot of hair, I think. So it's sort of but basically you've got a crucifix. It's much better that you draw what you see, so you can see that sort of like reaching for a smile with my face. So you're drawing both with your face at the same time as scribbling edges you see with your hand. Obviously my hand has practiced a lot of these edges before, so that they sort of fall into place as a kind of catalogue, rather like when you write. But there's no point in rooting inside your mind for what you're seeing. You need to root in front of you for where the darker bits are, leaving the light behind. I can sort of use this sort of to infer those flicky hair bits. Not sure what you can see through the camera, but certainly I will appear eventually at some point. And I'm sort of basically smudging in the darker bits of my face and leaving behind the light, which is what watercolourists do. And so I hope that helps a bit. These it's very much drawing without label, because if you start saying nose and mouth, you stop seeing. You stop seeing edges, and edges are what you're really capturing. Same way as the chords one plays on the guitar aren't words. You're going to hang the words off them like hangers later. But they help the whole thing to hold together and sort of set up the expectations. So basically you're sort of making directional marks in relationship to the features that you're looking at, the edges of things that you're looking at. Now if I put some darker marks, I think there's a lot of pink here, might be even brighter, it might work better really. Bite in, I like the word bite. Some of these crevices, like a sculptor really, sort of choosing to see where the dark and the light is, and that's the bits that you sculpt, that's a good word. Yeah, so you sort of, where you got sort of shiny bits, you need to create the sort of counterpoint dark bits. I like smiling. It changes the features that you're looking at, and it means that you sort of your face can actually help your hand, because you're actually making shapes for your hand to respond to, and so it's a kind of joyful union, a sort of harmony. Your hand is singing harmony with your hand. That's a musical way of doing things, I think. There you go. Crease that one in. I sort of love the beam of a smile. Use purple. Purple's a nice dark. You can use a dark. Definitely don't want to use black. Well, what's nice about these pens, they've got a thick and thin end. So when you're wanting to sort of soften in, usually the fat end's better. Now then, got to leave this little beam of light sitting. So you can sort of put your pupil in. When you put tone across, you'll find that the pen, especially if you use the other end, will make a darker response inside the darker area. And sort of bite in the edge of that. Now, although this isn't sort of purple as such, it's good enough. Capture edges. See, I'm leaving my glasses off. I don't know if you can see them in the camera anyway. I'm not quite sure what the camera can see. Oh, it's going okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. I've got a nice ruddy cheek. So, ruddy cheek. Oh, let's reach for that ruddy cheek. Oh, with a pointy end. Soft sausage. So drawing, like with everything else, all kinds of thinking is talking to oneself. I liked on QI where we're talking about the senses, and they sort of came across the fact that there are lots and lots of different senses, really. Sense of balance, sense of location, sense of identity, if you like. But yeah, we've got all kinds of cross-referenced references. It's called synesthesia, your various synapses sort of coming together and collecting all the information from different bits of your tactile sense, your visual sense, your oral sense, your taste sense. But there's loads, really. I mean, just think about the turtles that can swim halfway around the globe, feeling the current and its shifting differences. You think, wow. I think mankind was like that once, otherwise we wouldn't be able to register ley lines. And the waterboard still uses kind of bent twigs to sort of locate water, because there's something inside man that can feel it. How extraordinary is that? I'll get the pointy end again, maybe the purple, which seems safe-ish. But any counterpoint from a dark and light would work, really. That's a nice line. That's an even nicer line. You can see they don't have names. You can call this a nostril, but you think as soon as you've got a sort of mental sort of icon as if you're writing, it's not going to work. You need to see edges, feel edges. Just like when you got your plectrum in your hand, you're reaching for a chord for those musicians. You stroke the chord after you've formed it with your left hand, but it's clever what the right hand is able to then nuance. There's riffs and scales and stuff. It's the same. I like it when the smile on the sheet starts to smile back at me. But then again, don't forget, I've got a face that sort of is responding to what it's seeing and is therefore alive. It's a live drawing as opposed to being a photograph. Because there's a dialogue going on between my looking, my mark making, my being here, and joyfully responding. So yeah, you can keep yourself good company this way. Highly recommended. For those who give themselves not good self-talk. Good self-talk is affirmative. The Bible speaks of the tongue as a rudder, and it certainly is. Anyway, what Stephen Fry pointed out was sort of somebody went past a bedroom and a man was reading, but he wasn't reading loud. And apparently that's how we all used to read. We've learned to subliminate, but really all thought has got volume. We can't turn up our thoughts. When you try and do that, it's bonkers. So we've learned to sublimate so much that even when we read a book, we don't read aloud, but it makes sense to read it aloud. Think about it. You'd like to be read to. Well, just by reading aloud, you're already reading to yourself, more likely to take it in. It's good to recite. Recite's interesting as a word, a bit like revision. You can't see what you've never seen, so everything is a live performance. Until you start to only work from memory, you seek to remember, well, the pieces might not come together unless you've got the real thing in front of you. So seeing is very different, I think, even routing seeing, to just orally recanting the kind of rote-learnt thing. That's quite killing, really. Rote, routine, rut, they all come from the same place, don't they, really? You think, why be rutted? And this is a happy picture. I hope it's sort of giving you clues. I'm leaving behind light is what I'm really doing, I suppose. Leaving behind the light and making marks where there are darknesses, trying to differentiate between the types of darkness. Is it a really deep darkness, or is it a warm kind of fleshy darkness? But I'm leaving the light shining by letting the paper show through. That's the real clue. Mistake that one can make. So start colouring in. Now you have shapes and tones and contours and roundednesses and things that you can't put into words. But your hand can respond very quickly to this sort of perception of sort of no gap between you making your mark after having seen it and seeking to sort of represent it like you're a stylus on an old record player, really listening to the live performance and recording it. That's what you're doing. You are your recording gear. That's what you are. This is data capture in terms of a computer. What methods have you got for data capture? Hundreds and thousands of them. If you cross the road, you're having a dialogue. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the film Amelie, where she speaks to a blind man as they cross the road, but suddenly the world is alive to him because she's able to put into words what she's seeing so he can see it too. That's the real nature of literature, isn't it? To have something worth sharing and put it into words so that people can see it too. And that sort of makes the folly of our right-wing sort of politics sort of so stark in relief. You think, how can people pretend to know all the time instead of really coming to terms with and seeing the humanity in everybody around them? I mean, it just drives you nuts, doesn't it, really? Never mind, don't let it. Nuts is sort of being like them, really. Thinking you know better than them. Nobody knows better than anybody else. We're all just in this together, really. The many is very important. You can't have an orchestra with one instrument. You can try. In a way, the machine wrecking of putting a church organ into churches has now been slowly replaced by groups of musicians, as it was in Mozart's time. Sad at the moment that we can't go in and hear either church organ or the groups, but we're seeing through the use of what do you call it? The split screen with everybody on it. There's a word for it. Not coming to me. How all the parts come together. The Gestalt. Just like this, all the parts come together. Now people talk about the eyes being halfway down the head. If I had hair, clearly that would be the top of it, and so the eyes would be halfway down. But when you lose your hair, it's more like a crucifix inside an egg. If that's a point of reference that's helpful. But really seeing is this sort of continuous scribbling. That's what seeing is. Your eyes are flying around like a bird, viewing everything and trying to build a mental map. So yeah, every drawing is a mental map of a collection of marks put together in such a way that it gestalts. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So you suddenly have, people use the word capture. I don't think it's capturing at all. It's actually being captivated by something you didn't do. I didn't make my human face. I didn't make the pens that I'm drawing this human face with. And although I've learnt to know it as me, and I've tried different names out, really, the me is profound. I mean, I don't own it. I mean, people see more of me than I do. I not forever walking around with a mirror in front of me. So I can't see until I can see this. And of course, this is in reverse. I've never seen me. I've seen photographs of me, but you can't catch a glimpse of yourself because you can't see anything other than the reflected sort of inverse view. You see a photograph, but that is after the event. It's not contemporary, it's not live. It's not the expressions that you wear on your face that you can feel from inside, though. You can feel them from inside, and that correspondence is cheerful. Makes you want to smile at that. That does me anyway. That might be sufficient, really, what I've done there. I can just finish it and upload it. Anyway, it's my Sunday portrait. Rock and roll. I'll just switch the camera off. I've got to relearn this groovy.